Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host
TGO.
CGO or George. Today is the 21st of April, 2026. Quick reminder: please like us, please subscribe to us. We release every single day on YouTube, long form, on Instagram, TikTok, short form. Really quickly, some news today that we will be discussing. First off, West Ham and Crystal Palace drew today 0-0, which confirms that Wolverhampton Wanderers have been relegated from the Premier League after 8 years. The last 2 years were rough, but they had a very good run before that. George and I will talk about that and what their future is like. Second off, in other news, Bournemouth has hired Marco Rose as a successor to Andoni Iraola, who announced about a week or two ago that he was leaving. George and I have not discussed that particular movement yet, but we will. And lastly, we talked a little bit about this last week, but we might talk today about Andy Robertson leaving Liverpool. This news happened last week, but George and I might talk a little bit more in depth about what that means and what his future is like. But let's talk about first Wolverhampton Wanderers. George, this is a team who got promoted. I actually saw this team in the championship in 2017. I saw them play Brentford at home on a 13-hour layover. I saw Diego Jota in the championship. I saw Matinho in the championship. That team I think, set the record that's just since been eclipsed for highest points in the championship. They've had some very successful seasons. I think they got seventh twice. They had Dama Traore, who's now on Fulham, score multiple times against Manchester City, and they beat Manchester City. I think they did a double over Manchester City one year that they won the title. They've had some very good teams over the years. They've been very tough to beat. A lot weaker the last 2 years. What do you think happened, or do you think this is a natural cycle of a team going up for 8 years, losing some of their best players and declining? Or do you feel like this was mismanagement? George, over the last 8 years, what are your some favorite memories for Wolverhampton, and what do you think went wrong?
No, honestly, it's unfortunate what has happened to Wolves. Wolves have been a team that has really, it was that team that normally gives the big teams some kind of troubles whenever they play against the big teams. And like you mentioned, we've seen players like Matheus Cunha, the likes of Diogo Jota of blessed memory. We've seen players like Bitia playing for Wolves. So, but one of the things that happens to teams like this is when you lose most of your best player, and in the course of losing them, you are not able to get a very good replacement for these players that you lose. At the end of the day, it impacts on the team. And that's why you see most times there's always a decline the way a team like Wolves, the way they perform. You will notice we've seen that happen with a lot of teams. By the time their best player, we see that happen with Leicester City when they started losing players like Kante, the likes of Mahrez. They lost most of their best players. At the end of the day, those they brought in to replace them were not as good as these players. So at the end of the day, the team will surely decline, and that will have a very negative impact on them. It's unfortunate it happens to Wolves. I think those who are in charge, they have a lot of work to do, especially when it comes to recruitment. With the way the coach, I think Rob Edward has performed with this team, at least when he came in. I believe if they can build on that, they can still come back to the Premier League after the end of next season, the Championship. That's what
Do
I
you do
feel.
you think they're going to bounce right back next year? Do you feel like because we've seen at least one team every year the last couple of years bounce right back? Usually that team has not done very well the year they bounce back. The two teams that have been successful this year, Leeds and Sunderland, have both been down for more than one season. So we've seen that in the last couple of years. George, do you feel like Wolverhampton can go back just one season, bounce back up, and have another long stay in the Premier League?
Now, the only way they can bounce back is if they're able to maintain most of the key players in the squad, because we've seen that happen with Leicester. Leicester got relegated, and then we had the Maresca coming in as the coach. Most of the core of the players were still in the team. They were able to top the championship, and they came back to the Premier League. So if we can have Wolves maintain most of their key players, then that would be possible. But if most of the key players leave to other clubs, then that might be a bit difficult for them to just come back
Yeah.
to the Premier League. That's what I feel.
In the past, George, we've seen when teams go down, we often see clubs pounce on a couple of their players because they're often available for cheaper than they might otherwise be had Wolves stayed up. Do you see any players on this team that, like, yes, that player could jump to a top 6 team or top 10 team in this league?
Um, I'm trying to remember one player in that team that has really impressed me. The guy is a black player with dreadlocks. I'm trying to remember his name. That guy has been very good playing for Wolves. I can't remember his name now. Maybe if I remember his name, then I can. But he's a young player. He has really been very impressive. His name just keep my mind now. But that
Yeah,
guy has
yeah.
been very good, and I feel
Is it the
big clubs.
Nigerian guy, Arakadori?
No, 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 no. It's not Aroko Dari.
Okay,
It's a younger player, and I
okay.
think he plays for the English under 21 team or so. I'm just
Interesting.
trying to remember
Angel
his name.
Gomez?
No, no, not Gomez.
Okay, let's move on. I'll say that I think Yao Gomez is a player. I'm not sure he's ready for a top 6 team, but I could absolutely see if you're a Fulham, if you're any team that's in the mid table, I absolutely see Yao Gomez going to and being very successful. I'm with George though. I think this team is probably the weakest team in the league this year. Maybe better than Burnley, maybe, but I think this Wolves team is better than any of the 6 teams that went down the last 2 years. I look at Luton, I look at Ipswich, I look at Southampton, all these teams that went down the last 2 years. Luton went down on the last day, but none of these teams put up a fight. A lot of these teams were, it was, I felt easier battles going in week to week. This Wolves team have been fighting since January. Rob Edwards has put in some fight in this team. I feel like if he was managing since the beginning of the season, this Wolves team very well could be staying up. Given the talent on the team, I hope they stay together because I think this same core group of players could be successful. They might lose a player or two, but I do feel like this team could be.
So Joe, the player I was talking about, his name is Matthews Manny. That guy is a
Okay.
very good player. He's a very young player, and he has been very impressive for Wolves this season. So that's the kind of player I feel big clubs might come for. Then, like Joe Gomez, which you made mention of, has also been very impressive. So those are the two players I would single out from this Wolves team, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah. I also think that there's a couple players who are older who aren't amazing, but like can do it. Definitely put in a shift. I'm thinking of Hwang Ki-chan, who again he's not going to get snatched up by a top club. But if you're a Brentford and Everton, all of a sudden you're in Europe and you need a backup forward, he's a great pickup. He's a great player.
Yes, yes.
He knows the game. He has great mentality. There's a couple players like that on those Wolves team. I'm sure Wolves would love to keep players like that, but if Brentford or Everton get sixth or seventh place, qualify for Europe, they're going to be looking to pick up players like that for relatively cheap fee, like something like 25, 30 million, and they might be available given Wolves if they go down. It's a shame. George, last question before we move on to the Bournemouth situation. What is your favorite memory of Wolverhampton over the last 8 years?
I think my greatest memory about the team was when they I think they came to Stamford Bridge and then defeated Chelsea 4 goals to 2. I
Wow.
remember Matis Cunha scored a hat trick in that game, and that was a very painful loss for we Chelsea fans. So that was one game I will always remember Wolves for coming to
Yeah.
Stamford Bridge and shocking everyone with that outstanding performance.
So I've been to two Brentford games. One, I had a 13-hour layover in 2017. I saw Brentford play Wolves in the championship. Wolves ended up winning that season. So I mean, that was 0-0 game I saw, but I did see Diego Jota that day. I did see several other players who had very long and storied Premier League careers. The second time I saw Brentford was in the Premier League in December 2023. And Brentford's going through an injury crisis, and Wolves were having a pretty good season. And Wolves end up beating us 4-1. I was about 15, 20. I was like 20 yards away, 20 meters away from Hwang Ki-chan, who scored a couple goals after I think he scored 2 goals that day. I was right in front of him off Brentford mistakes. It was really cool to see him in person. They're away fans for something else. Of course, during the game, there was no chatter, but I ran into one or two on public transit after the game, and I just really enjoyed talking to them. And there was a fellow in Richmond who I was friends with who grew up in Wolverhampton, who basically convinced me to, yo, Joe, you have a 13-hour layover. You should go see that Wolves Brentford game. It's going to be awesome. And told me about all the team, and it was pretty cool. All right, George, that's my favorite memory of Wolverhampton. And I'm sure we'll see them, if not next year, over the next 5 years at some point. George, let's move on to Bournemouth. Dominic Iraola has he announced a week or two ago that he was leaving at the end of the season. He's done an exceptional job there. They've lost all their players. They made an attempt to replace all the talent that's left, but there's only so much you can replace a lot of these players, especially if they get snatched up by PSG, by Real Madrid, by Liverpool, by Man City, which of their talent has. Dominic Iraola they've been unbeaten in 12 games, longest unbeaten ring. He's been an exceptional form for them. First off, before we get into the replacement, where do you see him ending up? Like, what type of club is it? Is it going to be a top six? Do you think he knows? Do you think he's going to go back to Spain? What do you think is most likely for him?
Well, there are speculations that he might end up going to Atletico Bilbao. That's the athletic club in Spain. That was a club he once played for when he was still a player. Or he might end up becoming the new Manchester United coach. So, but these are still speculations for now. This guy, so far as I'm concerned, has really shown that he's a very good manager. Because when you look at the way he has transformed Bournemouth, he has done a lot. Even when they lost some key players in the squad, the standard didn't drop. They lost a player like Dean Huijsen. They lost Zibai to PSG. Even this guy called Semenyo left. But Bournemouth they're still playing well. So that shows you how good this guy is. And one thing I love about him, the kind of recruitment he does, very intelligent recruitment. Even when they lost Kakes to Liverpool, he brought in the guy called Trufe. And Trufe has been doing very well, very good investment.
He's been better than Kirkes this season. Kirkes,
exactly.
has not been. He's not bad, but he's not been a world beater at Liverpool.
Yeah. So when you look at the way the guy plays, his team plays fearlessly. That's one thing I love about this guy's team. They play fearlessly. They are not scared of anybody. So for me, he has done a very good job at Bournemouth, and I think he's leaving the club with his head very high. As we speak now, they are still unbeaten in 13 games. That's quite remarkable for the club. So I can't remember any coach that has tutored Bournemouth who has been able to accomplish something like this. Is this man called Andoni Iraola? And let me tell you, I'm very sure one of the big clubs will most likely come for him because he has really deserved getting to coach a big club with what he has done with Bournemouth.
I'm not sure that I mean maybe he'll go back to that team in Spain. I think if his only goal is career oriented, and many people are not driven just by career, but if he should aim higher than Atletico Bilbao, which is by no means a minor club, but Iraola should be able to get a job at a top 10 club this summer if he wanted to. There will be positionings opening up. He's been the players seem to enjoy playing, and he gives freedom to attackers. It's really interesting to watch him play and what he's done, especially with less of a budget than a lot of these teams. But I think he should set his sights higher. I think Manchester United obviously has to be doing his due diligence on him. If your Liverpool job, which might open up this summer, that's a name that you have to be looking at. Chelsea could very well open up this summer. Name has to be looking at. Real Madrid could open up this summer. There's speculation every single season that Pep Guardiola could step down if Arteta leaves. If Arteta does not win the title or the Champions League, he could very well
Yeah.
be out of Arsenal as well.
Yes.
So it's likely that all of these opportunities will be open, and there are not 10 world class managers completely available right now. So if
No,
you're
there,
Iraola,
there was a time even we were told that Chelsea owners that Andoni Iraola was one of those coaches they really admire a lot. So based on what you said now, you can't rule out that a club like Chelsea might come for him, and other clubs which you've mentioned, Liverpool and the rest of them might come for him. You never can tell. And I'm very sure for him to have decided to leave Bournemouth at this point, what it shows is that there have been some clubs, top clubs, that have been approaching him. But sometimes these things might not be in the media space. But I'm very sure there's a club, or let me say, clubs coming to have conversation with him on possibly taking over the management of their team.
I mean, when Klopp left Dortmund in 2014, I think it was 2015. There was a number of clubs who also called him. I know for a fact that Manchester United, Liverpool tried to replace him with Brendan Rodgers at the end of the season. Klopp said no, and then 6 months later, Klopp said yes. That type of stuff happens as well. Who really knows what's happening behind the scenes? I think that Iraola has certainly been respectful for Bournemouth, and his players certainly are still playing for him, and I'm sure he'll give his all. So it'll be exciting. It's good speculation. George, let's move on to the replacement, Marco Rose. Now, this is a guy who has had a managerial career mostly in Germany. This is a name that I was surprised because, first off, I'm not super familiar with German soccer. I've watched it. I know that Rose has caused a couple clubs to outpunch what might be their historical status in terms of performance when he's been there. But he hasn't won any huge trophies. I think this is a bigger name than I expected to go to Bournemouth, because given his pedigree and his of teams that he's coached in Germany, and so I think this is a huge win for them, a huge boon. It'll probably be a different type of Bournemouth than we've seen under Iraola, but probably one that I think can continue to progress and become this club identity that develops players, sells them as a club a young player can go to and really play in the Premier League and hopefully develop into a starter for a top team. George, what are your thoughts on this Marco Rose appointment? Do you feel like this is a good appointment for Bournemouth?
Well, if you look at Bournemouth as a club, well, for me, I think his profile fits in the club, if you ask me, because this guy has coached Borussia Mönchengladbach, he has coached Borussia Dortmund, yeah, he has coached RB Leipzig. Even before he came to the Germans league, I think he coached Red Bull in the that's Red Bull Salzburg in the Austrian league. So this somebody is not and is an experienced coach. It's not an inexperienced coach. It's not a coach that started coaching in the recent time. So he has some worth of experience, and he has been able to win at least the DFB Pokal, which is the German FA Cup. He has won that with Leipzig, and then won their Super Cup. So that's not a bad one. So far honors are concerned, he has been able to accomplish something. So it's not a bad coach. I think he fits the profile of Bournemouth. But the issue is that will he be able to replicate what Andoni Iraola has done with the club? Because now Andoni Iraola has set a kind of a high standard for any manager that is coming in. So that's one thing he has to be wary of. He has to be conscious of. He has to go there. He can't do less than what Andoni Iraola has done. If he does that, then he might not last on the job.
Yeah, we'll see. It's exciting. I mean, I think that most Bournemouth fans would have preferred Iraola to stay, but it Marco Rose is about as good of a replacement as you could hope for, and I think they should certainly be approaching his tenure with an open mind and a positive mentality. All right, so let me close out with our standard questions, and that is number one: Wolverhampton, what is your favorite memory of the last 8 years for them? George and I both shared ours. Number two, do you feel like Wolves are going to bounce right back up? Number three, where do you think is most likely for Dominic Iraola to end up next year's season? George and I think Manchester United, to be honest. I think George thinks that's likely, but there's a lot of possibilities. George mentioned Atletico Bilbao. And number four, the last question, do you feel like Marco Rose is going to be a success? Do you feel like he can build on what Iraola did, or do you feel like Bournemouth is going to regress under him? Please let us know your thoughts, and thank you for listening.